Hi guys and welcome to True Crime UK. When I was growing up, Jimmy Savile was a common sight on TV, whether it was Top the Pops or Jim Will Fix It, running countless marathons well into his 70s, raising £40 million for charity in his lifetime, receiving an OBE and getting knighted by the Queen. When he died, his funeral attracted thousands of mourners. He truly was a national treasure, but after his death that was all gone, and Jimmy Savile will be remembered for a much more sinister reason. He will be remembered for being one of the most prolific sexual predators in the UK. James Wilson Vincent Savile was born on the 31st of October 1926 at Consort Terrace in the Burnley area of Leeds. He was the youngest of 7 children. His father, Vincent Savile, who Jimmy described as honest but broke, was an insurance agent, and his mother, Agnes, a housewife. Savile went to St Anne's Roman Catholic School in Leeds and left at the young age of 14. He found employment in an office, and during the Second World War, Savile was conscripted to work in a coal mine. After an explosion in the mine, Savile suffered serious spinal injuries, having to wear a steel corset for 3 years and walking with a stick. Savile claims to be the first DJ, as in the early 40s he used to play records in dance halls, and claimed to be the first to use 2 turntables and a microphone, but this is disputed. Savile became a semi-professional sportsman, competed in the 1951 Tour of Britain cycle race, and a pro wrestler. It is said in Savile's lifetime he had done over 300 pro bike races, 212 marathons and 107 pro wrestling fights. Savile lived in Salford from the mid-50s to the mid-60s. In this time he managed several nightclubs, including the Plaza Ballroom in Manchester, the Locarno Ballroom in Leeds and the Palais Dance Hall in Ilford. In 1958, Jimmy's radio career started when he joined Radio Luxembourg until 1968. He then joined BBC Radio 1, presenting several different shows until he left Radio 1. He stayed in radio broadcasting for many different stations around the UK, pretty much up to his death. Savile's first TV appearance was as a presenter for a music programme called Young at Heart. In 1964 he presented the very first edition of the music chart show Top of the Pops, and was part of the very last show in 2006. Savile was to be the part of many road safety adverts promoting the wearing of seatbelts, and in the early 80s fronted many adverts for British Rail using the slogan, "This is the age of the train." Savile also appeared on This Is Your Life twice, once in 1970 with Eamon Andrews and again in 1990 with Michael Aspel. In April 2000 he was the subject of a documentary by Louis Theroux in the When Louis Met series. Savile confessed that he used to beat people up and lock them in a basement when he was a nightclub manager. When Theroux asked about the rumours surrounding paedophilia and Savile dating back a decade, Savile said, "We live in a very funny world, and it's easier for me as a single man to say I don't like children, because that puts a lot of salacious tabloid people off the hunt." In January 2006, Savile entered the Big Brother house and done a fix-it for some of the household, notably Pete Burns and Dennis Rodman. In 2007, Savile done a spin-off Jim Will Fix It called Jim Will Fix It Strikes Again, showing some of the most popular fix-its. Savile has been involved in many different charities, including Stoke Mandeville Hospital, the National Spinal Injuries Centre, raising an estimated £40 million. He was a regular sight on various marathons and completed the London Marathon when he was 79. During Savile's lifetime, sporadic allegations of child abuse were made against him, dating back to 1963. Savile always claimed the key to his success on Jim Will Fix It had been that he disliked children, something that he later admitted to saying just to deflect scrutiny of his private life. He did not own a computer of any sort, claiming he did not want anyone to think he was downloading child pornography. Savile had wrote his autobiography, As It Happens, and in were several admissions of improper sexual conduct which appear to have been passed unnoticed or turned a blind eye to. In October 1978, former Sex Pistol vocalist John Lydon had an interview recorded for BBC Radio 1. Lydon stated, "I'd like to kill Jimmy Savile. I think he's a hypocrite. I bet he's into all kinds of seediness that we all know about but are not allowed to talk about. I know some rumours." Lydon also stated, "I bet none of this would be allowed out." Sure enough, the comment was removed from the final broadcast, but the entire interview was included as a bonus track on a re-release of Public Image Limited's first after Savile's death. In October 2014, Lydon explained his original quote, saying, "By killing I meant locked up and stopping him assaulting young children. I'm disgusted with the media pretending they was not aware." In 1990, in an interview with The Independent, Lynn Barber asked Savile about the rumours that he liked little girls. Savile said, as he worked in the pop music business, the young girls in question don't gather around me because of me. It's because I know the people they love, the stars. I am of no interest to them. In 2007, Savile was interviewed by police that were investigating an accusation of indecent assault in the 1970s. The location was Duncroft Approved School for Girls in Surrey, which is now closed. Savile was a regular visitor. In October 2009, the Crown Prosecution Service dropped the case due to insufficient evidence. In March 2008, Savile started legal action against the Sun newspaper, which printed several articles about him being involved in child abuse at a Jersey children's home. Initially, Savile denied visiting the home, but later admitted he had indeed been there after a photo emerged at the children's home of him surrounded by children. In 2008, the allegations were dropped again due to lack of evidence. In 2009, in an interview, Savile defended viewers of child pornography, including pop star convicted sex offender Gary Glitter. Savile argued that viewers didn't do anything wrong, but they are then demonised, and describes Glitter as a celebrity being vilified for watching dodgy films in the privacy of his own home. Savile said, Gary has not tried to sell them, not tried to show them in public or anything like that. It were for his own gratification. Whether it was right or wrong is up to him as a person. The interview was not made public till after Savile's death. A year after Savile's death, Sir Roger Jones, who was a BBC Governor for Wales and also a chairman of the Children in Need, revealed that 10 years before Savile's death he had banned Savile from involvement in the charity, describing Savile as a very strange and creepy. Former Royal Family Press Secretary Dick Arbiter said that Savile's behaviour had raised concerns. Savile acted as an informal marriage counsellor between Prince Charles and Princess Diana in the late 1980s. Arbiter said that during Savile's regular visits to Charles' office, Savile would do the rounds of young ladies, taking their hands and rubbing his lips all the way up their arms. On the 29th of October 2011, Savile was found dead at his flat in Leeds. He had been in hospital with pneumonia and his death was not treated as suspicious. His closed satin gold coffin was displayed at the Queen's Hotel in Leeds with the last cigar he smoked and his 2 This Is Your Life books. Around 4,000 people visited to pay tribute. Savile's funeral took place at Leeds Cathedral on the 9th of November 2011 and he was buried at Woodland Cemetery in Scarborough. In his will it states that his coffin was to be inclined at a 45-degree angle to fulfil his wish to see the sea. Savile's coffin was encased in concrete as a security measure. Immediately after Savile's death, the BBC Newsnight programme began an investigation into reports that he was a sexual abuser. 2 people interviewed on camera and others agreed to have their stories told. The interviewees alleged abuse at Duncroft Approved School for Girls in Staines, Stoke Mandeville Hospital and the BBC. Newsnight also discovered that Surrey police had investigated allegations of abuse against Savile. In December 2012, a review led by Nick Pollard of the BBC's handling of the issue described the decision not to broadcast the Newsnight investigation as flawed. The Jimmy Savile investigation was shown on ITV on the 21st of November 2012. In March 2013, Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary reported that 214 of the complaints that had been made against Savile after his death would have been criminal offensive if they had been reported at the time. 16 victims reported to being raped by Savile when they were under 16, and 4 of those have been under the age of 10. 13 others reported serious sexual assaults by Savile, including 4 who had been under 10 years old. Another 10 victims reported being raped by Savile after the age of 16. In January 2013, a joint report by the NSPCC and Metropolitan Police, giving victims a voice, stated that 450 people have made complaints against Savile, the period of alleged abuse stretching from 1955 to 2009, and the ages of the complainants at the times of the assaults ranging from 8 to 47. The suspected victims included 28 children aged 10 or under, including 10 boys aged 8, a further 63 were girls aged between 13 and 16, and nearly 3/4 of his alleged victims were under 18. Some 214 criminal offences were recorded, 34 rapes having been reported across 28 police forces. Former professional wrestler Adrian Street described in a November 2013 interview how Savile used to go on and on about the young girls who'd wait in line for him outside his dressing room. He'd pick the ones he wanted and say to the rest, "Unlucky, come back again tomorrow night." Savile, who cultivated a tough guy image promoted by his entourage, was hit with real blows during a 1971 bout with Street, who commented that he had known then the full extent of what I know about Savile now, I'd have given him an even bigger hiding, were that physically possible. During the independent inquiry into child sex abuse in March 2019, it was reported that Robert Armstrong, the head of the Honours Committee, had resisted attempts by Margaret Thatcher to award Savile a knighthood in the 1980s due to concerns about his private life. An anonymous letter received by the committee in 1998 said that reports of paedophilia nature could emerge about Savile. In 2022, former BBC presenter Mark Lawson wrote about his encounters with Savile and hearing from many BBC personnel, not at the top level, about his abuse and rumored necrophilia. Lawson ended, "On the true story is his victims and how the BBC, Department of Health, Conservative Party, Catholic Church, police forces, local councils and libel law let them down. A monster for whom the British establishment, political, royal, broadcasting, medical, charitable, provided a dazzling shield." Within a month of the child abuse scandal emerging, many places and organisations named after or connected to Savile were renamed or had his name removed. A memorial plaque on the wall of Savile's former home in Scarborough was removed in early October 2012 after it was defaced with graffiti. A wooden statue of Savile at Scotstoun Leisure Centre in Glasgow was also removed around the same time. Signs on a footpath in Scarborough named Savile's View were removed. Savile's Hall, the conference centre at the Royal Armouries Museum in Leeds, was renamed New Dock Hall. The Jimmy Savile Charitable Trust and the Jimmy Savile Stoke Mandeville Hospital Trust, two registered charities founded in his name to fight poverty and sickness and other charitable purposes, announced they were to close ties to his names to be sustainable and would close and distribute their funds to other charities so as to avoid harm from beneficiaries from future media attention. On 9th of October 2012, relatives said that the headstone of Savile's grave would be removed, destroyed and sent to landfill. The Savile family expressed their sorrow for the anguish of the victims and respect for public opinion. Savile's body is interred in a cemetery in Scarborough, although it has been proposed that it be exhumed and cremated. On the 28th of October, it was reported that Savile's cottage in Glencoe had been vandalised with spray paint and the door damaged. The cottage was sold in May 2013. Savile's estate, believed to be worth about 4 to 4.3 million, was frozen by its executors NatWest Bank in view of the possibility that those alleging that they had been assaulted by Savile could make claims for damages. After a range of expenses were charged to the estate, a remainder of about 3.3 million was available to compensate victims. Those victims not having a claim against another entity being given priority and all victims limited to a maximum claim of £60,000 against all entities combined. The compensation scheme was approved in late 2014 by the courts. Most of Savile's honours were rescinded following the sexual abuse claims. As a knighthood expires when the holder dies, it cannot be posthumously revoked. Episodes of Top of the Pops hosted by him are not repeated. On June 26th, 2014, UK Secretary of State for Health Jeremy Hunt delivered a public apology in the House of Commons to the patients of the National Health Service abused by Savile. He confirmed that complaints had been raised before 2012 but were ignored by the bureaucratic system. He said Savile was a callous, opportunistic, wicked predator who abused and raped individuals, many of them patients and young people who expected and had a right to expect to be safe. His actions span 5 decades from the 1960s to 2010. As a nation at that time, we held Savile in our affection as a somewhat eccentric national treasure with a strong commitment to charitable causes. Today's reports show that in reality, he was a sickening and prolific sexual abuser who repeatedly exploited the trust of a nation for his own vile purposes.